Good morning, everybody. As everybody should know by now, this is my third day doing this. Hopefully, it will be every Monday through Friday, anytime in the morning before probably 12. And eventually, in the middle of November, hopefully that's not too loud, in the middle of November, I will be switching this over to my Fire Lotus Facebook page, and then once that happens, I will be doing lives. I'll be doing possibly some exclusive lives, like a little small event, I don't know. A couple of things I'll be working out on that, but these videos and these messages are these videos. Was suggested to a friend of me by a friend of mine here on Facebook. His name's Angel. He suggested them, and I've been doing them, and I don't really have a topic. Here lately, I haven't really been having a topic. I'm hoping over time that I will have a topic to like start off with and just see where that goes. But, and then of course, after this live, normally right after, about 30 minutes after that, I also go live on my Instagram too. So, but yeah, I wanted to see how everyone was doing. I do have some little goodies that a really good friend of mine sent me. Amazing shop. I will also be talking about those products. I got them yesterday. And I used them last night, and I've been using them this morning, and they're amazing. And of course, I will also, in the comments after this, I'll like place a link to her Facebook page. If you hear Liquor, or if you hear a cat meow, it's because Liquor is on the opposite side of my craft room door. He tends to become a nuisance when I'm doing these live videos, and eventually he will start meowing, and it sounds like I'm killing him because he'll throw a tantrum because I'm not. See? But, anyways. I love you too, Mom. And thank you. For everybody who doesn't know, Mercury Retrograde is coming up. Don't freak out. It's nothing bad. If you want more info on that and things that I do to help during Mercury Retrograde, basically, when Mercury goes into retrograde, it affects communication, travel, don't sign contracts, anything like that during this period. Now, it doesn't necessarily, it won't necessarily affect everybody. That also goes into your natal chart, and I'm nowhere near where I need to be to even do or talk really about that. But check out my YouTube page, Fire Lotus the Witch. And I have multiple videos on that, on basically what a retrograde is, normally how long they last, what can happen during a retrograde, what it means if something does happen in a retrograde, and crystals and other techniques that basically it'll just help either smooth out the retrograde or at least help survive it a little better. And honestly, retrogrades, all the shit you read online about how they're negative and like lets everybody freak the fuck out and blame a retrograde or when a planet goes in retrograde. Primarily, though, it is Mercury, because Mercury's over, like I said before, communication, travel, relationships, all that shit. It's a major one. But normally people say, especially online, you know, this is bad, this is, you know, when Mercury goes into retrograde, this is a bad thing, and it's really not. It's basically when stuff in a retrograde happens, when you're affected in your life, that's the universe's way of telling you you're putting energy into something that you don't need, you need to change course, you need to reroute, and figure out where to go from now. But the people you're associating with, the business, the contract, anything like that happens during when the planet Mercury goes into retrograde, it's basically the universe's way of saying, hey, stop. You're basically poisoning yourself. Just stop and put your focus towards that way. And of course, with retrogrades, this normally somehow typically affects everybody. Anything to do with technology, your cell phones, your accounts, make sure everything is backed up. Make sure you have like stuff written down to where you can get into it. But technology is really affected. The very first time I discovered and really did research into a retrograde, I think I was like 18. My laptop that I had just got, the hard drive fried itself. The following retrograde, when Mercury went back into a retrograde, the battery fried itself. And then the charger fried itself. So yeah, be extremely careful when it comes to cell phones, technology, and stuff like that. I'm not for sure on the actual date that Mercury will go into retrograde, but I do know it's, I believe, in the next week or at the end of October. And typically retrogrades, I believe they normally last roughly about 6 months. 3 to 6 months, I believe. I could be wrong on that. But yeah. Like I said, I didn't really come on here today with an actual thing. Normally, just me talking to people or just talking in general kind of gets the thing rolling. But perfect time to show. 3 Sleeping Eyes. I will share a link. She's a really good friend of mine. She has 1 or 2 places here in Florida, locations. But she also has an Etsy store and she has a Facebook page. Totally check her out. She sent me some sage spray. All of this stuff she makes herself. She grows the majority, if not all, of the herbs that are included. But this is full moon. It's charged by the full moon, but it's sage vibration spray for the people who don't necessarily or can't necessarily burn the sage. Hey, Donna. But it's really good to just kind of spray. It honestly smells like you walk into a fairy garden. And if anybody don't know what that smells like, imagine being in a really, really lush green forest right after it rains in springtime. That earthy, musky, almost like faint smells of random flowers. That's basically what it smells like. And it works. Not to mention, when I opened her package last night, the smell that came out of it, it was amazing. It literally smelled like you walked into a fairy garden. It was just really earthy and relaxing and kind of musky, but it was amazing. The other 2 things that I got is anxiety tea. This stuff works really, really well. The other thing, I think nope. And she also, these are reusable tea bags that she has up on her shop. She sent me one and James one, but the anxiety tea is amazing and it works really well. It's very calming. I would suggest though, like if you have a full busy day ahead of you, depending on how it affects you, like I would say this is for like chill out of the house, possible meditation, relaxation day. Like if you have a busy full day ahead, I wouldn't really suggest drinking a full glass because it can be a little strong and it doesn't really like knock you out, but it relaxes your body and it relaxes your mind. I have something that I can compare it to, but I don't really want to. So, but the other one is this sativa sweet tincture. I added 2 of these to, and again, she makes these all homemade. I added 2 of these drops, 2 full drops, to the tea, and I steeped the tea for 15 minutes. 8 ounces, of course. And it's very interesting, too, because this sweetened it, but not like in the essence of you just added sugar. Almost a mix of like adding honey, but it also, one of the herbs in here is valerian root. If anybody has ever dealt with valerian root, it has a very strong personality, we'll put it that way, but it's very good for relaxation. But the taste, it's very hard to with this right here, all the other herbs in this, it brings out the natural flavors of them and it slightly sweetens it. So like literally I can't even explain how it transformed the tea, but amazing. Y'all should totally check her out. I've met her in person. On top of that, she is also an amazing artist. Her paintings that she can do, they are mind-blowing, but she makes bombs, I think I'm gonna butcher this word, but salvias, like stuff that you'd rub on you for pain. I believe she has some products for men for their beards to like keep it healthy and stuff. She has multiple types of soaps. She has she has so much stuff. And again, I call her the herbal alchemist because she literally is. Like, the things that she can do, and like I said, this smell, if I could get my entire house to smell like this constantly, I would never leave. I never leave my house anyways, but still, like, I wish and hope and pray one day I will get my craft room to smell like this because it is just, it takes you back. It's very weird because to me, it took me back to a memory that I'd forgotten about, but it was a really happy memory. So, very good products. Rambling a little bit with that. But, yeah, the retrograde is going into effect. The fucking world itself has gone fucking mad. Completely fucking mad. But I also tried. That's what I was going with this. Back on track. Okay. So, I attempted to make videos for beginner witches, especially for the people, and when I say this to anybody that sees this video, I mean no shade, I mean no harm, I mean no negativity, but for the people that do not find Wiccan right for them, and looking, which nowadays from today and then the day and the time and year that I started my research into spirituality and the craft, the majority of books you would find back then were Wiccan. I do know for a fact there are books now that are for beginners that are not necessarily Wiccan based. They're more just either a mix or I would say traditional English magic. But I'm hoping here soon, I'm trying to get it out, but I'm hoping to actually get a video of how the type of craft that I do and my type of craft and magic that I practice and how I've honed it over the years to be something completely different than what most is mainstream, but it works for me. But I've also realized there's a lot of people, since I've been talking about how I view things and how I practice my magic and my thoughts and ideas behind them, I've realized that they also they like the views. It's calling to them. So I'm going to attempt here soon to actually create a video for the beginning of the craft of like resources and what books that I would say, because the main problem that I had researching the craft was, like I said, the majority of the books that I found back then and that were primarily out back then were Wiccan based. Again, there's nothing wrong with Wiccan, it's just not my cup of tea. But since I could only find those books, well, basically I had to use them until I could find other resources or I was at a point to where I could create my own. And one thing which I believe in what I've seen from some books, some of the authors have true. It's just with the traditional Western magic, it's primarily Wiccan based. And I know a lot of people, and one of the main issues, it's not even with Wiccan, it's with some of the Wiccan authors, is they teach you that if you don't follow this, like step by step, it doesn't work. And that's bullshit. It's complete and utter bullshit. When it comes to the craft, when it comes to magic, once you understand what the correspondences are, what, herbs, crystals, all the other symbols that you use in the craft, ingredients that you use in the craft, once you understand the correspondences behind that, once you understand, and again, it depends on your path, if you're working with deities, if you're communing with spirits, if you're not, if you're just practicing magic, and, almost in an atheist way. Because to be a witch, you do not have to believe in other gods. You can believe in the Christian God. You can believe in Jesus Christ. As much people will come from my heads for saying that, but it is true. Practicing magic is different than, Wicca, basically. Wicca is a religion. The craft is, a craft. It's a spiritual path. You do not have to be religious to practice the craft, and you do not have to be a witch to practice magic, and you do not have to be a Wiccan to practice magic. I think I said that right. But one of the main things they do is they tell you that basically if you don't follow this, if you don't do this, and if you don't do that, it doesn't work. And that's bullshit. And it can damage you from the very get-go. Before you even start, it can damage you because it's you freak out. You're like, okay, well, none of this looks like, I don't have the money to go out and spend $140 on this specific athame or, this nice chalice. You can use a pen. Use your pointer fingers. The best wand you'll have. And with my magic also teaches you from the very get-go to go off your instincts. Like if, say for example, I held, I don't know, a thing at a park, and we went on a nature hike. Through that nature hike, I would ask you, or I would ask before we began, during this walk, if you see any plant, rock, stick, anything in nature that we're passing by, if you see it, and for some reason it grabs your attention, pick it up and bring it. Liquor hush. Yes, exactly. Like, and see, and again, that's mainly the religious aspect of it, but sorry, there's something in the air that's making my allergies flare up. But my magic, it teaches you that there's a reason. Say during the walk you found a feather, a stick, an acorn, a rock, and two flowers. Okay? Well, there's a reason that you were drawn to those specific items. And with me and what I learned, especially when I got to a point in my craft where I was comfortable enough with casting a circle and actually doing rituals, I realized that a lot of the stuff that I would collect just by natural instinct as me, as I'm prepping my circle, I would collect these herbs or collect these plants growing around it, and I would use them. And then after I got done is when I would actually go and check and be like, okay, well, let's see if I can see what this shrub means, this type of plant that I used. And some of the plants that I used, I couldn't find anything to do with magic. But I myself made a mental note of, okay, I used it for this. Yes, thank you. And you're totally welcome. It's so true. Like, I myself, I have a lot of things, but the things that I have, I've been practicing for almost 16 years. So, of course, I'm going to collect things over the years. But, some of the best objects that I've used have literally been sticks, crystals, rocks. Like, some of the most basic stuff with candles. The majority of the candles that I get, I don't spend hundreds of dollars. The majority of the candles that I use in all my spells come from Dollar Tree or Dollar General. And I'm actually getting to a point where I'm trying to recycle some of my candles. But that's a little bit tricky, especially if you use those candles for spells. But not getting into that one. But I want to create a video because a lot of the things and how basically what I did with my craft was after I gained enough research to understand, okay, I understand what the athame represents, what the chalice represents, what this represents, what that represents, and basically all the tools that they tell you need, honestly, they're like training wheels, because all it's doing is it's just helping your brain and your body focus that energy. That's all it is. All the tools are just training wheels. And you will get to a point in the craft, I don't care what type of path you on, and, you will get to a point in the craft where you honestly will not need a lot of those tools, because you get to a point where your body will just naturally manifest things. And now manifestation, some people, if you ask, some people say it's different from spell work, but honestly, it's basically magic. And it's that. Got sidetracked. But what I did with my craft was, once I got to a point where I could understand and I'd not memorized, but just by reading it, I've retained the knowledge of the basic herbs. I know the directions and stuff like that. Once I understood the foundation of what the craft is and how to use it, and then of course with meditation, visualization, and energy work, once I got to that point, I kind of just got to a point where I threw everything I had ever read on what's right, what's wrong, what you don't do, what you do, and I just kind of said, all right, fuck it, we're going to do this from scratch. And that's how I do. I mean, I have plenty of spell books, I have plenty of journals that I've kept over the years, but none of them are finished. And that's because 95% of my magic, unless I've otherwise planned it, it's on a drop of a dime. I could be washing dishes, I could be doing something random, and then all of a sudden, I'll get a feeling, but I'll also get this certain look in my eye, and I'll stop whatever I'm doing, go back here to the craft room, 20, 30, it's almost like I go into a trance. 20, 30 minutes to an hour later, bam, I have something that it all works, it all flows. And it was also, if anybody sees this video, if you can get your hands on, the author's name is Penzak, and the book series that he wrote is called the Temple series. That, if anything, for any beginner witch, screw all the other books, go for that series, because with that series, each book, he breaks everything down. The first book is in here. It is how to set up your mental altar, your sacredness when you go to meditate, your sacred space inside your head. The second book is outside your actual body, which is the actual grounding, the actual magic work. I believe the third one, I'm skipping one of them, I know. But it breaks it down like that, and I believe the third or fourth one goes into shamanic magic, and that's the shadow self. But the way that he words things in that book made sense. He didn't complicate things. He broke everything down to the most basic way of explaining it. And like he explains, when you're in a ritual, or during a spell, during a circle, if you are reading from a book or reading from something, or recalling something, chanting something, and you mess up, don't stop. Laugh, giggle, and continue. If you take it serious and you stop and you start the entire process all over again, that's hurting your magic. Because the gods, the higher ups, the universe, however, whatever you view it, the guides, they understand that, it's not serious. I mean, it's serious as in a respectful way, but at the same time, it's not really that serious. If you miss... Now, if you're summoning something or something like that, more advanced magic, of course, you're not really going to want to mess up. Like, if you were to do a spell that was specifically written in, like, the dead language Latin, and you had to basically re-say it in Latin, that, on the other hand, is different. But, another thing that they don't really teach you, your favorite songs, no matter if they're Taylor Swift, no matter if they're hardcore heavy metal rock, no matter if they're Nicki Minaj, the songs that you listen to throughout your day on an everyday thing, when you listen to them and it just automatically lifts your mood, it makes you want to like jump around and it just puts you in a good mood, you can incorporate those into your magic. I do it all the time. I'll blare all types of music. If I'm back here in my craft room just, crafting around, doing different things, or even in spell work, I'll play a song for a spell, because if I can find a song that represents how I'm feeling and or what I want to manifest in a way, I'll use part of that song in it. Why not? I mean, true magic and real magic at the end of the day, it's all about intention. It's all about, if you go into, say you got a job opportunity and you had a job interview. If you go into that job interview thinking you've already screwed it up and you're not going to get the job, you're not going to get the job. You've shot yourself in the foot right then and there. But if you go in there thinking that you've already got the job, then 9 times out of 10, you have a higher chance of getting that job. When you do spell work, say if it's to get something to you, or for you to get approved for something, or something like that. After that spell work is done, for one, it's best to just kind of forget about it. Don't sit there and constantly think about it, constantly worry about it. Worry in magic will kill everything. And trust me, I know this because I suffer from anxiety. Extreme anxiety. So I'll sit there and there are moments where I literally have to, in a way, spiritually slap the fuck out of myself so I'll stop. But when you do spells like that, if it's to receive something, if you're talking to somebody else about that, state it in a way that you've already received it. Like it's already in the mailbox coming to you. And I realized that when you do stuff like that, it really, truly does help magic. It really, truly does manifest it. And to the people who, because everybody can be a witch, everybody is a witch. It all literally, you just have to basically throw out everything you were told as an adult and get back into your childlike mentality in a way. Because that's honestly, we're all spiritually awakened when we are younger. But due to the fact that our parents, our teachers, everybody else above us tells us at certain points in our lives, grow up, get your head out the clouds, stop daydreaming, this is just all in your head, it's just imaginary friend. We start to believe that and it dumbs us down. Like straight up, it dumbs us down. They teach us through proxy to not think about what our natural bodies naturally just pick up on. And due to that, you grow up and, all the random stuff you see out of the corner of your eye, or if you're driving in a car, or walking somewhere, or walking through your yard or your house, and out of the corner of your eye, you see something go past it, or you see a figure standing there. You're not seeing shit. You are legit seeing a spirit. Which that's a different subject, but everybody has natural abilities. There are some people that are born with that natural ability, I'm assuming due to the stars and like how they were when they were born, or due to the family members and all that stuff. There's a lot of things that factor into it, but some people are naturally born with the ability to just naturally do stuff. Like, me, I did not know it. I did not know it until, honestly, last year. 2018 was the year that I realized that I manifest a lot of shit without even knowing it. Like, I can talk about somebody that I haven't seen in 2 years, 2 months. I'll talk to them, or I'll randomly bring them up around James. And there have been some incidences, 5 minutes after that, literally we run into those people, or they show up at our house, or they message me, or stuff like that. And that's magic. That's magic. For the moms out there, those times when you're nowhere near your kid, but something happened to them, good or bad, and you knew it. That's magic. That's nurture. That's motherhood, but that's also magic. But everybody can do magic, and everybody honestly does magic. When you pray, that's magic. When you go to a Catholic church and they light their candles and say their prayer, that is basically a spell. Legit, that is a spell. And to practice, and I did want to say this, because I've realized a lot here lately that there are witches that are waking up that may not be drawn to the symbols that we associate it with. For example, the pentagram. Or, the occult, I'll say the occult more, the occult stuff, you don't have to incorporate it. Like a symbol that I've just now really started, well, in the past year, really started incorporating in my magic is the fleur de lis. And believe it or not, what's insane about that is I was always obsessed with lotuses. Lotuses are my favorite flower. One of my favorite flowers. I've always been drawn to the fleur de lis and never realized why. And with gods and goddesses, Hecate, or any three-faced goddess, I've always been drawn to it. I never figured out why. I recently discovered, I think, year before last, sometime last year, that the fleur de lis has actually been linked to representing the lotus, and it also can represent the three-faced goddess. Mind blown. And that was stuff that I had always been drawn to and never really understood it. Now that also, that's my theory that kind of runs off on my theory of past lives and a bunch of other stuff that eventually I will get out and make into videos and get it out of my head, honestly. But yes, at the end of the day, you don't have to look like a witch. You don't have to have the witch aesthetic to practice magic. I know plenty of people that have nothing to do with anything whatsoever to do with the old ways. Any New Age or any Pantheon, Greek, anything like that, have nothing to do with that. And they go to church, they read the Bible, but they have their altar set up of natural things or things in their life that bring them joy or have sacred memories or moments to them. They have it placed on one table and they have candles and maybe a cup or maybe some type of dish to leave something sweet there. That's magic. Your ancestors. If you can get photos or if you have photos of all the past family members that you've met or just in general, create a small table or a small space somewhere in your house and just put all of those pictures in that one space. Have a couple of candles, maybe an incense. If the family members like smoked, maybe get them some tobacco that smell or incense that smell like tobacco. There we go. Or get real tobacco leaf and burn that. That's honoring them. It has nothing to do with witchcraft. It has nothing to do with Satan. It has nothing to do with evil. Satan is a Christian concept. Satan is Christian created. You know, in paganism, there's not really... We have horned gods, yes, but they're not evil. And we don't even believe in hell. Most pagans believe in the Summerland or something of that effect. Now, don't get me wrong, there are evil things out there. Fuck yeah, there are things out there that, well, at the same time, there are also things out there that they're neither good nor evil. They're older than that. I've came across beings, I'll say beings or energy, that they're older than time itself. You know, I've had random energy or random, I hate using the word being, but honestly, I've had random beings or random things show up when I was doing some of my rituals outside in a circle. And they were just kind of curious about what was going on. But for the people who want to practice and they don't know where, for one, there's a 30-day spiritual challenge. Again, I didn't create it. I forgot where I heard it from, but it worked. And that's basically every day for at least 30 days. You know, set small time aside to where it's just you. Grab a cup of coffee or some tea and go somewhere and sit down and drink your coffee and just sit and talk. You know, just ask the universe out loud, hey, guides, you know, I'm trying to reach out. This is new to me. And over time, you will figure out those answers. You will figure out a way of communicating and receiving those answers. Yes, thank you. I know I kind of contradict myself sometimes, I guess. I don't know. But yes, like you said, April, evil finds what you put out, and intentions are everything. So, I mean, if you, say, for example, a spirit board. If you get a spirit board from Walmart, and the entire time you're going to the store, buying it, bringing it home, opening it up, and using it, if you're thinking that, you know, you're gonna contact something like out of Ghost Adventures or some Hollywood movie, then there's a very fucking good well that, you know, you may contact that. But at the same time, because I have learned, because I've used the spirit board multiple times, there are safe ways and there are extra precautions that you can put into effect that can help. Now, I'm not going to say it's always going to protect you, because a Ouija board, it's like one of those random, like, imagine this portal, or imagine, like, on an app, you opening it up and it randomly just shifting through shit, and then all of a sudden a screen opens up and you're chatting with somebody. You don't know who the fuck's on the other side. But there are protections, and it's all about intent. If you buy a Ouija board intending and thinking that you're going to contact a demon or something dark or something evil or something twisted or something like that, 9 times out of 10 you are. And that goes with almost any divination device. Do not let people fool you. Dowsing rods, pendulums, scrying, automatic writing, especially automatic writing, anything to where you have to use your body. Well, not really scrying. Scrying is a little bit safer, but pendulum, Ouija board, dowsing rods, and automatic writing, unless you're experienced, I would stay away from those 4. I would completely stay away from those 4, because those are 4 things in divination that you actually have to use your body as almost like a conduit. Like, the spirit uses your body to transfer what it's saying or transfer its energy. So unless you're very experienced with energy and, you know, feeling energy and understanding some types of energy, I would stay away from that. But scrying in a flame or in a candle, those are great ways to start out with divination, because you're not opening a portal. You're literally just... And with that, I would try to go... which is not true, but your birth element, mine's fire, of course. I love fire, anything to do with fire. I love scrying in fire. But I'm also drawn to scrying in mirrors, scrying to water. So there are different things that you can scry into. But, yeah, you know, at the end of the day, when you're beginning... And the number one thing that I could definitely tell a beginning witch is stay off of Instagram, stay off of Pinterest, stay off of social media when it comes to you beginning your craft, because you do not want to get it in your head, well, my stuff doesn't look like this, then I'm not doing it right. No, there is a reason it's called the craft. You make it your own. My craft style and look has changed over the years so many times, it's not even funny. Like, even in the pictures that I have, you can tell my altars have went from kind of what the book says when I first began to now. I have like 3 different types of altars. They're actually 4, because I have 2 in the living room. And they're not what most people would consider an altar, but I do, because they're special. They are special places throughout my house or on my property where either A, I have crystals or special jewelry or something like that. Like, there's a specific reason, a specific place for it. That's basically an altar. You're going there with specific intentions. Which I don't really have any altars outside. I mean, I have my circle / fire pit, and then I have 2 dishes in front of this oak tree. I believe it's an oak tree. Yeah, oak tree, right beside my porch. That's normally where I'll give offerings and stuff to. Now with that, again, to the newbies or the people that have been practicing, depending on who you ask, like, you may get some, like, you know, what the hell are you talking about? But with me, what I do is, with some of my meals that I eat, now this does not have to be me cooking it. I'm talking about stuff that I microwave. Literally, I'll save a small piece from that, and I'll take it outside, and I'll offer it back to the earth, or my ancestors. Now, when you offer stuff to your ancestors, at first you may think, you know, well, I don't really see them coming down and, like, eating it. The way that I thought about that, or when you're offering something like that, is everything is connected. Especially with the earth. The post that I did yesterday, I think it was yesterday, the day before yesterday, it made me realize that we literally, no matter what you believe, no matter what your religious or spiritual views are, we are we are children of the earth. We are in tune with the earth. We are made up of the earth, and we come from the earth, and then we will return to the earth in some way, shape, or form. At the end of our lives, we will return back into the. No matter if you're cremated, no matter if you're buried, no matter if you explode for some reason, unless you are shipped off into space or anything like that, in some way, shape, or form, you will get returned back into the earth. And with that, think about when you're giving offerings, when you're like, when I get alcohol, if I drink alcohol, if I'm here at my house, or even if I'm somewhere else, if I have a chance, I'll pour a little bit of it out, but I'll have the intention and dedication to, I'll offer it to the ancestors and the gods and goddesses. And the way that I view that is, if I, put food outside up under a tree, 9 times out of 10, rationally, bugs, insects, animals will eat it. That's how it gets back to them. See what I mean? I know that sounds very weird, but that's how I believe that's how it works. That's what they mean. And I'm even getting to a point where, when you see those animals that are symbols, like you, especially if you talk to your ancestors, or if you talk to the universe, pay attention to the animals that you see right after you ask for something. Because they can be messengers, At first I used to think, well, how do spirit animals work? And then I was realizing, I was like, what if it's just not, like the universe or whatever you believe in directing those animals? What if it's also your ancestors coming to you and be like, hey, we hear you. Here you go. This is your symbol. Honestly, at the end of the day, manifestation and magic, it's manifestation and symbolism. That's a lot of what it is, and intention. At the very end of the day, that's basic core. To practice magic, you do not have to follow the phases of the moon. I know some practitioners that they do not do spells unless it is a certain day of the month, or the number has fallen on a certain day, on a certain moon cycle, and then they'll match plants with planets and male or female aspects, all of that. And you can, and that's great if that works for you. But that doesn't work for everybody. With me, I have extreme ADD. Like, extreme. So it's hard for me sometimes to, fully sit down and concentrate something like that. Or even meditation can be hard for me. But I realized meditation doesn't just have to, you be sitting there in a lotus position, or sitting there going, or just sitting there trying to clear your mind. It can be running. It can be jogging. It can be painting. Anything that calms your mind to where you're just focusing on what you're doing, that's meditation. You are learning through meditation, and the reason in witchcraft meditation is such a key thing is because, honestly, it teaches you to calm your mind down. It teaches you to organize your emotions and how you want to direct them, and it also teaches you visualization. The better you can visualize something, the higher chance of, I guess you would say, your magic coming out perfectly the way that you want. Because magic is about wording stuff. And for the people that do have anxiety, or tend to have their minds wander, or they worry a lot, I always go back to it. Smoky quartz. Smoky quartz can be, not trained. It can be programmed to filter out your anxious thoughts. So the thoughts you don't really want to manifest, but you're constantly thinking about, it'll help, almost like a dream catcher. It'll keep all the negative thoughts in. Of course, you do have to cleanse it often and regularly. You can do that with sage. You can do that with sage spray. You can do that with salt. There are multiple different ways of cleansing and saging stuff, or balancing, or basically, washing them. There's crystal washes, which some crystals you are going to have to do research. And I did not know this. I think it's moonkite. Is it moonkite? I have a piece of it. It's on my altar. But there's a stone that I recently got that I'd been wanting. And I did not know that it can release toxic fumes if it gets wet. Did not know that. So, which I think that would be technically a mineral, though. But anyways, With certain crystals, like, you are going to have to do your research. Well, on all crystals, do your research. But some crystals, they cannot go near water. They cannot have, like, a salt bath. They can't be dipped in moon water and stuff like that because it can ruin them. But yeah, that is going to be my rant. I don't even know. I think I've been doing this for almost an hour. I don't know. I've had a blast. But I also have to jump on to my Instagram and do that morning chat, which I got 30 minutes to do that. So I got some things around here I got to do. But thank you, April, Jess, everybody who's joined in. Thank you so much. If you see this afterwards, I hope what I said resonates with you. I will leave the links to everything that I mentioned in the comments below. Again, the cat that you hear in the background is completely fine. He's throwing a tantrum because he's locked out of the crafter. And apparently he's playing with something. But thank you. I hope you all have a great day, night, morning. I don't know your life. But yeah, I hope it's great. I hope it's magical. And stay tuned for tomorrow because another one will be coming. Morning chat. Yes. Peace.